Welcome to the Nifty Chicks. You won't want to miss this. In this episode, we chat with Somi Arian, tech philosopher, award-winning filmmaker, author, and entrepreneur. We get real honest about women in crypto and NFTs, why she's looking to rebrand her project to be more male inclusive, and what women need to do to not get left behind. Let's do this. Welcome to the Nifty Chicks. Hi, Minty Cell.
Hi, Jen FT.
How are
you? I'm good. I'm still just like in awe from this interview that we have with Somi. She was so amazing.
Yeah, she touches on a lot of sensitive topics, and including, why she's rebranding specifically to be more appealing to men, and some of the limitations and challenges she's faced building a women-focused brand. And as women who are doing the same thing, building a women-focused brand on a women-focused mission, it's some hard truths that we talk about.
Right. It really is. And she also, she gets into some very personal things, and shares some things that she's never shared anywhere else, which, I mean, it brought goosebumps, chills to both of us when she did. So,
yeah, I think our listeners are going to find this chat very relatable, and very eye-opening to some of the realities about being a female in the NFT space, or even being a female out of the NFT space, looking in on the NFT space, and really what we need to do as individuals to, not get left behind.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we should not waste any more time and just go into the interview, because this is actually our longest interview we've done to date. But I truly think that every single moment is worth it for this interview. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Yeah, let's bring her in.
Well, welcome to the Nifty Chicks. We have Somi Arian, who is a tech philosopher, award-winning filmmaker, author, entrepreneur, and a LinkedIn top voice in the UK. Welcome to the show. We are excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
My gosh.
So I gave just a short background. I would love to hear more about you and how you ended up in the fabulous NFT space.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I call myself a tech philosopher. I study the philosophy of technology and how technology is changing society. And I think it's fair to say that the blockchain technology is more of a social technology than any other technology that I can think of, right? It's really changing so many things on a societal level. I became interested in blockchain technology around 2017-18, and I didn't necessarily, think too much at the time about Bitcoin or the monetary aspect of it. For me, the most interesting thing was the fact that I could see that this technology was going to change the game for disrupting big technologies, big tech, right? Like I could see that, the first thing I thought about was like, this is going to disrupt Amazon. It's going to disrupt Facebook, and that's what was interesting to me. So that's how I started my journey, and then later on, I got into better understanding the monetary aspect of it as well. And then I started buying crypto, and then I went down the rabbit hole and I just like really learned. I paid for a lot of courses, paid for, watched everything that I could find for free, read many books and articles and everything. Probably I've spent about 5,000 hours more, if not more, on learning about this technology. So that's how I got into it.
That's amazing. I see that you consider yourself a transition architect. Tell me more about that. I mean, you alluded to that just moments ago, but tell me more about like why do you describe yourself as a transition architect?
Definitely. So, there is a do you know the book Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari? So in one of his interviews, Yuval was talking about the fact that, you know, our lives are kind of like, instead of being building our identities, instead of being like building a house, they're more like building a tent, and you have to constantly be ready to take your tent and go to the next milestone. And that's exactly what's happening with technology, right? Like that's with every new technology. So like we have had to learn about digital marketing, digital transformation. Now we are talking about, and then we start talking about AI transformation. Now we're talking about blockchain technology and transformation. And I think the next paradigm is going to be quantum computing. So that's the one that I'm now starting to research a lot more. So because I think that quantum computing is going to disrupt blockchain technology potentially, right? So I'm constantly thinking about what's the next thing, and the most important thing within my observation of this is that the speed of this transition is increasing. So like if you think about the amount of time that it took from creating the first computer to the internet, then the amount of time that it took to create Web 2, then now between Web 2 to Web 3, who knows, Web 4 might be so much faster. So it may well be, and we are very quickly moving towards the singularity, which is basically the point where all laws of social order basically breaks down, and we don't know what the future of humanity from that point on will look like, right? So so as a transitional architect and a tech philosopher, my goal is I literally wake up in the morning and go to bed and think about this all the time and read about it, learn about it. And I'm trying to help as many people as possible to come along with this transition. Because as Yuval also mentions in his book, I think that we are going to see, I think it's an understatement to say 90% of society is going to be left behind, because they are not going to get on board with this, right? And the speed is so fast, and it's increasing so fast. So initially when I started FemPeak, my goal was to try and get more women to become part of this, this transition. However, that's proving extremely difficult. And women always often say, why are we being left behind? Why is there not more diversity? How can there be diversity when you don't take the step to actually join the movement, right? So I created FemPeak with the view to bringing more women into not just Web3, but all aspects of technology and business and entrepreneurship. That's proving extremely difficult. If you think about if you think of like the NFT collections that are on OpenSea right now, I bought into BFF, and I didn't get the BFF bracelet first, but I bought it on the secondary for 1.5 before the mint, so that I could mint. I thought that this project is going to be sitting around 4 to 5 ETH right now, if not more, but it's sitting under a half an ETH, and I've actually lost money on both the bracelet and the and when you look at the amount of trading, it just goes to show. Then you look at World of Women, the price of a World of Women NFT should be sitting around 40 to 50 ETH right now. It should be very close, to Bored Apes, but it's sitting at under 5 ETH. Then you look at Boss Beauties, which I'm going to buy actually, because everything's down. I'm just going on a shopping spree. And I'm actually
you sound like me.
And I'm actually thinking of picking up another BFF, just to have two, just in case, as things move. But Boss Beauties under 1 ETH, it just breaks my heart, and it's very, very upsetting. So I don't want to create another brand that is going to be limited in this way. So I have 3 values in life. Transparency or honesty is one of them, and the other one is speed, and the other one is curiosity. I want to be around people who are curious about the world and where everything's going. In that spirit of transparency, I'm like, I know that this will upset many people, but I want to make a statement to say, look, women are themselves not taking interest. They're not taking interest. They're not taking a stance. Because look, one of the issues with women-led PFPs, which ours is one of them, is that they are going to, like men, even if they buy it, they will not put it as their PFP.
Right.
They're not going to put it on their profile picture.
Right.
And because they don't put it, there are not enough people. Like, no matter how many times Gary Vee says that, world of women, yeah, go world of women. No matter how many times he says it, he's not going to put that at his as his profile picture. Madonna herself is like not putting a world of women on her profile picture. She's got a Bored Ape, or she had, and until recently. So why are we in this position? That because there aren't enough women that are coming on board with these things, right? So the way that I'm going to overcome this is that we are going to rebrand FemPeak to an umbrella brand. We're working on that right now, and then FemPeak is going to become a subset of the bigger brand. And our next NFT project is going to be called Allies, and they're going to be men and people of other diverse backgrounds. So that basically, so we are not saying this is not about a romantic partnership. They're allies, right? So they have allies. And then we are going to say you have to have the women to buy the ally, right? And like we're going to pair them that way. And in this manner, I want to popularize the concept of allyship and men supporting women. This is the plan, right? So we are going to rebrand, and we want to build this concept of allyship because NFTs are here to create culture. So we are going to do the first drop of FemPeak. FemPeakers is called. So it's going to be FemPeakers, and then the next one is going to be called Allies. And then we're going to be creating a lot of other gamification and things like, basically you stake the two of them and then you will get other drops and things like that, right? So we want to encourage people to, like they do it in Hog, so that you have two that are paired. So we want to encourage people to keep both of them.
I mean, that's such an important thing that you've just shared with us. So we are also on the mission to bring more women into this space because we think it's going to benefit them in the long run, financially. I mean, emotionally, community-wise, there's a lot of incredible benefits to bringing more women into space. But man, we can do all the work we can, but if women aren't actually taking the steps to enter this space, no matter how daunting it is, then our work will be wasted. And so I completely agree with you. And I think you're bringing a different perspective to what we typically hear. And I think it's important, really important.
Yeah, and I think I'd love to hear what you think. Mint, how do I say? What's your
Mint E-Cell?
Mint E-Cell.
So yeah, so my name is Arian Cell, and then I mean I like to mint, so I figured
I love
that. I 100% agree with everything you're saying, and I can't tell you how many women I come across, and it honestly is part of why we started this show, is because we meet so many women that have no idea what an NFT is. Like, you try and explain it to them and they're like, well, I still don't get it. And I really do think that it is our responsibility. It is our, like, if you want to figure it out, then you have to dive in. You have to get in there. And Jen FT and I talk about it all the time, where it's like, for example, last week we were trying to use a new chain that we wanted to get involved in this new project. And we went, and we had to set up these wallets. None of them would work. Like, we couldn't get KYC, which is know your customer. We couldn't get KYC verified. And so we ended up giving up because we spent like an hour trying to do this. And I'm not saying we wouldn't go back and try and do it again, but there are definitely barriers to entry. in this industry. And first off, I think that we need to, as a whole within the industry, we need to make it easier to onboard new people, right? And then the other thing is that yes, you still have to do your research and figure it out. And like I said, we spent an hour trying to do something, and we never got there. We ended up giving up. And I mean, what does that say? Right?
Yeah, well, it's a very new industry. It's in its infancy, really. Very nascent. But at the same time, like I said, because of the speed of technological advancement, it could also be disrupted very soon by something else, right?
Right.
So the truth is that because of the speed, we are now in a position that we may see more and more that something will get started, and before it actually comes to fruition, something else gets started. So if you are at the forefront and you are patient and you work with that, like I got into the NFT space around October last year. So like it's like, I mean, I've had crypto for a couple of years, and I've learned about the blockchain technology since 2017, 18. But actually buying crypto actively and then actually getting into the NFT space. And I've already made about $150,000 just from the different things that I bought at the right time, because I learned, I have a Moonbird now, like
amazing.
Yay, lucky you.
Moonbird. Yeah,
and then look, and then within the Moonbird community, there's like only 50 or 60 women, less like around 0.5%.
Wow.
Out of 10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
No problem though.
And actually, I posted about it when I was going to enter the raffle. I posted about it on our Discord. And a couple of the ladies later on said that, oh yeah, we looked at it and we thought about it, but we thought that it wasn't, that the roadmap wasn't clear enough, like, or yeah, it's a risk to go for 2.5 mint, 2.5 ETH mint.
Right. And what's crazy is like I didn't even know about it. I think so. It was a friend of mine told me that they ended up winning one somehow. And so then I was like, oh, I better go look at this. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, these aren't even cute, which I have said about so many things like Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, like so many of the major NFT projects. I look at them and I'm like, that's ugly. Why would I ever want to spend any amount of money on it? And then I turn around and I've got like these beautiful women behind me. And I'm like, okay, this is something I can get behind. Like I would spend money on this.
Yeah, but when there aren't enough people doing that, right? And then the Moonbird, it doesn't matter what it looks like, because after a while it becomes like, now I actually really like my Moonbird. At first I was like, what is this pixelated but actually, like, now I really like actually, to be honest, I did like it from the beginning as well. I was like, it's glory, it's got a little hat, it's got a little,
well, and so they're owls. And I have to mention this because we are going to be included in a project that you are already on. It is the, oh my gosh, what is it? Crypto Goddess.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And I love yours. I was gonna
I thought it was so cute that they put an owl on my shoulder.
I know, I love that. And so I love owls so much. I wish you could see in my office here. I have this picture of me holding an owl on my arm in Prague. And it's like, if you could see the joy in my face holding this owl.
Huh? They're so majestic, yeah.
They really are. They're just amazing animals. So anyway, I thought that was cool that you had the owl.
But like, see, this is one of the things that I discussed on our platform today. I was like, because I was talking to our members about rebranding, and they were, I was like trying to explain to them why we are going to be doing that. And they were like, obviously they were like, yeah, it's sad that we have to, think that women, there are not going to be enough women, and I was like, we are sharing all this alpha, all this amazing information here, and there are many people men who want to join, and because it's called FemPeak, they don't come, right? So
Right.
so as a result of that, I can't raise investment, I can't build a business, I'm taking a hit, and I have a team of 12 people that I have to pay,
Right.
and
A harsh reality, but it is
yeah,
a reality. Yeah.
it is a reality. So they were like, yeah, we they all really understood, and we are going to continue to talk about it on Discord and everything, and I think it's something that we need to talk about more, because we keep saying that there's not enough investment going into women. Well, this is why. Right? Like, because
Yeah.
if you can't prove, like BFF, they're very, very fortunate, because one of the ladies I don't know enough about, but I know more about Brit, and Brit is married to Dave Morin, and they are like, early investors in Facebook. They have capital. They've got they've got 100 celebrities behind them. That
Right.
that thing should be sitting at 50, at 5 or 6 ETH right now, if not 10 ETH right now.
No.
Mhm.
Why is it at like
Yeah, I
less than?
can't believe I'm looking at it right now. It's at 0.58.
Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
I bought the bracelet for 1.4, and I minted two. I gave one of them, the ones that I minted, I gave it as a gift to one of my colleagues, and now I'm thinking about buying a whole bunch of them, because the price is so low, and I want to give them as gifts to people, and
Right.
hopefully, and I really hope that at one point it will go back up. But when you look at the trading volume,
Right.
the trading volume of Moonbird in the first 24 hours reached around like over 50,000 or something.
Yeah, it was insane.
Reached, I believe,
Within
a
a
million
week.
in a week. Yeah.
Well, yeah, within a week it was like around 70, 80,000. Like, it was like crazy.
I think it was actually more than that. Didn't they
Maybe
hit?
more than that.
Yeah.
It might be more than that. Yeah.
Floor on
it was like
Moonbirds right now is 26.
Yeah, and look, and the whole market is down. But
Right.
if you mint with a Moonbird, you will have still made 10 times your money, despite the price being so low. I actually did a
Oh my
TED talk
gosh,
where I talked about it.
you is at 0.24 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm looking at the top collections right now in trading volume in the last 24 hours, and I mean, the first female focused, whether it's female led or female, focused project, is World of Women, and it's on 48, which means all those other projects that are primarily focused around the male population
Yeah.
are leading, and that's where I think Minty
Look,
Cell and I have a great
owls, beans.
yes.
Beans. Like beans. Like Azuki. Azuki, like as we were talking, Azuki just had this incredible meltdown today.
Yes.
And still beans is higher than you.
Yes.
Like, it
right.
makes me want to cry.
And we were talking yesterday, Minty Cell and I, about whether the gender gap is actually widening in the NFT space.
It is.
I get the sense that it is, and the projects specifically speak to that. And it's sad, because I think, I just believe
Why do you think that is?
Women themselves, they're just not taking interest enough. So I talked about this a lot so it's a combination of 6 factors that, because we did a lot of research on this, it's a combination of 6 factors that then it becomes a vicious cycle. The 6 factors are a shortfall in confidence, tech skills, entrepreneurship, family and relationship, women's health issues, and then there was one other thing that I'm like trying to, and financial literacy. So when you fall behind, like I asked a question today. We did a poll. We had a session today which was about how to find NFT projects to invest in, and we had a poll in the beginning, and I asked, "What's your budget?" And the answers were like, under 1 ETH, 1 to 5 ETH, 5 ETH and above, or 5 to 10 ETH, or 10 ETH and above. There was not a single woman that said above 5, right? So what happens is that you make less money. As a result of that, you are less less courageous in
Liquid.
spending money,
Yeah.
risk taker,
Right.
and then you, as a result of that, you make less money again, right? And then
Right.
you fall behind. And then there are a few other things. One other thing, look, one of the reasons why I think this is probably one of the best podcast interviews I've ever done, because I'm talking about what I told you about the rebrand. I have not talked about on any other podcast, so you're the first people hearing
Yay.
it. And actually,
What's
one other
funny
thing
is I've already got notes for stuff that I want to be sure and share out, because you are like dropping nuggets of gold around here, and I love it. So thank you.
Look, and one other thing I want to tell you that, again, I have never talked about publicly on a podcast, is that the reason why I didn't buy into Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that stuff earlier was because I was in a relationship at the time that my ex was like really against blockchain, right? And I was like so excited about blockchain, and I kept talking about it, and like he really cut me short all the time. And like the moment I got out of that relationship, I started buying, and it's like because of that, like I basically put so much money on the table, and I didn't buy into these projects when I had the money at the time, where I was like spending that money on the things that we were doing together to try. But like this is another thing. So that's why within the those six reasons I gave you, one of them was family relationship, because a lot of times women, when we are in a relationship, the reason why I'm so courageous now, and I'm like, I'm such a risk taker, is because I'm single, and now all of a sudden I feel like the world is my oyster.
Yes.
Like
It's your
I can do whatever, I can do whatever I want. But now I know, because of the confidence that I gained, next time I go into a relationship, I know that my thing is mine. I decide for myself, I think for myself, right? And I've always been, I'm one of the most self-centric people that I know, in the sense that I don't necessarily think about, I don't listen to other people. But when you are in an intimate relationship, it really matters to you what your partner thinks. And for women, it matters what their male partner think. Whereas for men, it doesn't matter as much.
Yep. You are not alone. You are not. Thank you for sharing that. And you are not alone. I think there's quite a few people out there, women specifically, in that same exact position, who, may have their own finances, but essentially the male is still driving the family financial decisions.
Absolutely.
And especially on the investing side, maybe not the spending side,
and
but
not just on JPEGs,
right.
even on yourself,
Yes.
Like basically I have another business. It's called Smart Cookie Media, and it's a marketing agency, and we work with thought leaders. And of course we also work with other, like our biggest client is Steinway Pianos, but we work a lot with thought leaders. And one of our clients, a lady that I will not mention more about who she is, because but it's like she's very successful in her own right, and her husband, and actually not just one of them, we had two clients that their husbands told them, why are you spending this money on building your thought leadership, right? Like even though they are spending their own money.
Yep. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
So let alone JPEGs, let alone a risky investment. Investing in a startup, don't even talk about it.
Yep. That's why, our tagline is invest in yourself. You're worth it, because it's not enough women do invest in themselves and their own financial decisions and their own decisions outside of financial. It's their, most of the decisions are controlled by other people in these people's lives. And so we want more women to take control over their own finances.
Well, and it's not even just investing like actual money, investing your time, investing your energy, investing your focus, and like learning about the industry and how you can, be a success.
And do you guys have kids?
Nope.
No, neither of us do.
This is interesting. See, this is another thing. The majority of women who are getting on board with investing, majority of whether it's investing, whether it's building businesses, either they don't have children, or they have very supportive parents who look after their children, or like, very supportive family that look after their children, so they can go out and do that. If you are, but I don't have kids. I made a conscious decision not to have kids, because I'm like, I have no family in the UK, and it's like, I don't have anybody to help otherwise, right? So I'm not gonna have children. So because otherwise you have to think to yourself then, what's important to you, and building, like my legacy is my child, so I'm gonna build that, right? And I want to make an impact, and I think that with this concept of allies and having the male PFP and opening up the platform, to a wider audience, but being a woman who is, spearheading that, I'm really hoping that to change that, and if I can change the minds of 10,000 people who own those NFTs, like, I've done something,
Yes.
and then hopefully that can, we need to make this concept of men supporting women into a value. It needs to become a value in society. The type of man who supports a woman's ambition, and who it encourages risk taking in their female, whether it's friend, ally, partner, the man should say, yes, take risk, go out, this is your money, go out, do whatever, you know what, let me help you, here's like some more funds, go out and do that. Like, that's the way you build the next generation of women who are not going to be left behind.
Oh,
Right.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh, you're like firing me up.
Right?
Yeah, and it makes me very emotional, but it's the truth.
It is. And yeah, and that's exactly
an unfortunate truth.
It is, yeah, and that's exactly like what we're trying to.
And look,
our mission is multi-dimensional, right? Not just to bring more women, but there's so many layers to that.
Yeah, and look, ultimately, women need to know that nobody can help them if they don't want to help themselves, right? Like, if I hadn't gotten out of that relationship, I wouldn't have bought Bitcoin even now. I wouldn't have owned an NFT, I wouldn't have owned a Moonbird. I wouldn't have, had any ETH, like, I wouldn't have built this business. I wouldn't have done any of this, right? So ultimately, you need to kind of think to yourself, do you want to have new and interesting experiences in life, right? And yeah, so ultimately, we need to be able to take a stance for ourselves, and then we can go out and communicate with our male allies and say, look, this is a value that I care about. I want you to care about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's huge advice. And for the women that may still be in that position in a relationship where the decisions are controlled by the male partner or even other partners, what advice do you have to give them if
Get out.
I was going to say, if
because
sometimes it's easier said than done, though. I've been in those positions where it's like,
I know, like, my breakup was so painful that, like, I honestly thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. I literally thought I was going to die. I had panic attacks. It was extremely difficult. I didn't get over it for probably a year and a half until I got cats. Like, I got 2 cats, and then I got over it. The moment the cats came in, I was like, oh, like, let's cuddle. But then I focus on my career, and building what I'm building, and now this is so fulfilling, right? That it's kind of like, right now I don't have the space for a relationship, but it's like, if and when I do, it's gonna have to be somebody who is very, very supportive in that sense. And one other thing is, like, a lot of times women are in these types of relationships that on the surface there's nothing wrong, right? On the surface, like, like they get used to it. They get used to it so much, like that they think like there's so many other things that I'm getting in this relationship. I'm getting that security, there's a house, there's like whatever, children, etc. Right? That they don't necessarily, then that doesn't become a priority. And that's fine. If they are happy, then that's fine. But if there's even a slight hint of not being happy, then you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? Right? Like if you're happy, then that's fair enough. But then you have to think to yourself, what am I teaching to my children? What am I teaching to my kids, to my son, my daughter, whatever that you may have, my nieces, my nephews? What am I teaching them by staying in a relationship that is, limiting?
Yeah.
me?
Wow. I know there are a couple of kind of wrap questions. First of all, I could talk to you forever about this. And like, I want this interview to go like for days. But one thing I want to just mention that I notice here before we circle back on really like how do we follow FemPeak and the journey that you are anticipating in the rebrand? How do we follow? One thing I want to mention is that you were in a metal band.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Just a
I
little
was
bit.
in a death metal band. It was my band. I started it. We were on the back cover of Metal Hammer magazine. We toured, Europe and the UK, played to 2,000 people, played with some really great bands. And it was a lot of fun. I actually had a song called Neda. It's called The Voice, but it was about a girl called Neda who was killed during an uprising in Iran, for democracy. So a lot of my work is around the future of democracy. I actually just gave a TED talk about the future of democracy and decentralization. So it's always been quite, a political and always like philosophical, political, thinking about. There was a lot of, a lot of hints about, being a woman in that space as well. I actually have a song which is called Hello Tomorrow, and it's about a child that I had to have an abortion when I was 19 years old in Iran, and I couldn't tell my parents, and it was like a really difficult place to be, and the song Hello Tomorrow is from the child that was never born to me.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I have chills.
I literally have goosebumps right now.
I know.
You are incredible. You are an
Thank
incredible woman. I am so glad to have you on the show. This has been awesome.
Thank you. And I just talked about basically several things that I've never talked about on a podcast.
I mean, thank you for sharing.
But this is what women do. Like, you bring that out of me, right? That I was feeling comfortable to share. This is why women are so important to technology.
Yes.
Right? Because we bring soul to technology.
We do. And
it's okay if we are not coding, because I always say that there are three ways that we interact with technology. Every time I see people talking about more women in technology, they talk about the code, but actually there are three ways. There is the design, there is the code or engineer, and then there is the use. So if women are not coding, I'm not saying we shouldn't get women in coding. Of course, I want nothing more than that. But it's not the end of the world, right? I don't code. I understand code. I taught myself Python just to learn enough to understand, to speak to my developers. I know some HTML. I know some Python. So I understand code. But I'm not a coder. But that's okay. I'm building a tech platform. But basically what you need to do is, like, you need to understand it at least conceptually to a point that you can design. So women may not code, may not engineer, but they can design and they can be very good at using technology. But they're not even doing that, right? So at the very least, we can encourage more women to get involved with designing and with using technology.
It sounds like a lot of where you ended up today is because you took your own learning in your own hands. You just started doing a lot of research and dove right in. We hope to be a resource for women starting in the NFT space. We hope that people will think of us as kind of a good tool to use to learn more about NFTs.
Yeah.
Talk to me just briefly about some of the resources and tools you found as you began your journey into NFTs.
Sure. Well, before I say that, I wanted to also mention that I also taught myself English. So I was born and brought up in Iran. I actually left Iran in when I was 23. So I was already, an adult when I left Iran. I taught myself English since I was about 10 years old. By the time I was 14, I was reading books in English, and I was teaching it to other students at school. So this idea of being,
Impressive.
having the ability to teach yourself. I also taught myself filmmaking, and I became a multi-award winning filmmaker. I didn't actually study filmmaking in university. I studied philosophy and politics. So I taught myself filmmaking, color grading, all the technical aspects of filmmaking, and then of course, production, all that stuff. So you can teach yourself anything, and there are so many resources out there. So one of the things that we are doing on FemPeak is we are teaching all of these things from start to finish, so that because you can learn a lot on YouTube, you can learn a lot on, there are so many resources out there, but you have to invest in yourself. Like I have a YouTube channel, I teach a lot of things on my YouTube channel that is free, and then you come into the platform and you learn, more in-depth stuff. So in terms of like one of the best ways that I have learned how to learn is to learn from lots of different resources, because when you learn from lots of places, you get repetition in a different way, and then it reinforces the learning. So like, you could be listening to 5 different podcasts, and each of them talks about the same topic in a slightly different way, and you learn a bit. And the other thing is, like, I'm learning all the time. Like, I'm like lying in the bath and learning, and listening to an audiobook, or I'm constantly learning. There's not a dull moment in my life, that it's like I'm like sitting there not doing anything. So technology is moving really fast. You have to move, and learn from anywhere you can.
Well, and so I just want to add there too, you want to make sure that the people that you're learning from are reputable sources, and that they're actually giving you, good information.
Of course,
Because
there's so many amazing, like in terms of crypto, obviously there's so many great books out there that if you go to Audible and just like look at, some of the amazing books that are out there. And then in terms of podcasts and like resources, other than obviously we provide a lot of things on FemPeak, but the other ones that I really like, Bankless is probably my favorite one, and in terms of NFTs, it will be probably Overpriced JPEG, you guys yourselves, and then we have got, Real Vision. Like there's so many amazing resources out there. Coin Bureau, that we went to their conference. Like there's so many amazing resources. There's so much free content, and then there are things that you can go into more depth, when you go to these platforms.
I have to ask, are you going to be at NFT NYC?
I think so. I'm looking into trying to make it. I've just been. This is another thing, right? Like when you get into these things and you learn. Like I'm just being flown to Dubai business class, and they're paying me $18,000 to speak at a conference for 20 minutes. It's like, where does it, right?
Love it.
Like, where do these opportunities come from? Because you put yourself out there, and you learn, and like, so it's not like, when it just really blows my mind when women like sometimes say, oh, like it's too expensive to learn, or too too complex. Well, it's not just about that JPEG that you buy. Like, because now I've developed this expertise, I went from filmmaking and marketing and like politics and philosophy and teaching myself English, to now living in London, buying a flat with my own money, and being able to build a business, having 17 people, 12 people in FemPeak, and 5 people in my other company working, and like getting flown to Dubai business class, getting flown to Japan business class, before the pandemic, and all of those things come from just teaching yourself stuff, investing in yourself, spending time, to learn, and people are willing to pay a lot of money for your time and for your, just your presence.
So
It's
true. And I love that you keep saying investing in yourself, because that is.
I know, me too. Every time you say it, we're like,
yes. I just absolutely love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us, or tell our listeners, what is the best place to find you, to follow you, to stay connected? Obviously, FemPeak.ai.
Yeah, so even once we rebrand, FemPeak.ai will redirect to the new brand. We're still working on the name. To find me, Somi Arian, you've got my name there. Just Google it. You see my LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, all of those things. I don't use Instagram much. I just literally just automatically post everything. But I use LinkedIn quite a lot, and recently I started using Twitter quite a lot because of the NFT community.
Yeah, you have to.
Yes.
Awesome. This has been amazing. I can't tell you how appreciative I am to have you on this show, and so this has been great.
I cannot wait to see how far you go in this world. You're just scratching the surface, my friend.
You know what? Let's see if we can give Elon Musk a run for his money.
Yes.
Love it.
Let's do it.
I just think, I look at the top, I actually have, when I started FemPeak, I started with a video, I have a dream video, which is still on LinkedIn. And basically I was like, when you look at the top 100 people, of all time, whether it's in business, 99% of them are men, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course they are.
And we just need to change that. And the way I see it, look, for me, life is a game. Okay, I have everything I need. I don't need anything else. I don't need more money. I'm doing this because it's a game. I want to win it. I want to be in that game. I want to be in the race. I don't want to be on the sideline. This is a game. I'm playing it, and I'm going to build, make millions, billions, multi-millions, whatever it happens, right? And then the way I see it is that I don't even have kids. All of my money is going to go into science and technology, and it's going to be invested in. And also, one other thing is, I don't like giving money to charity, and it really, really annoys me when women give so much money to charity. Every time women have money, they give it to charity. Invest, multiply it, so that then you can buy a country, and then you can feed all of those people. You can empower all those people. Every time, I'm not really, I don't consider myself a philanthropic person, probably because I come from a very underprivileged background. I like to invest in people, so I'm going to invest in science and technology and people who are very hungry and hardworking and have a business acumen. I want to invest in those people, and I'm going to die. I don't have children. All of that money is going to be, it's going to be part of the legacy of building this, whatever it is, whether it's a fellowship, whether it's just, it's all going to go into science and technology for the future of the future generations, right? So, and maybe some of it goes to my cats if if long enough.
Someone's got to feed them. I mean,
But essentially, my point is that I quite like Sam Bankman-Fried, and his idea of earn to give away, except that my giveaway is less charitable and more let's say, for example, if I could give charity money to say women or underserved backgrounds, people, I would say, bring me good ideas and let me invest in your idea. Let me empower you, right? Because when you invest, then they know that money needs to be repaid, and they need to then work hard and build something with it.
Well, it's like the old adage, teach a man to fish, right?
Yeah.
Versus give them the fish. You're teaching them how to be successful themselves.
Yeah.
Versus just, here you go, here's a handout.
But also, with education, I do believe that education should be available, but I don't necessarily think that it should be completely free, because if everything is free, you don't value it as much.
The skin in the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I spent a lot of money learning the things that I learned, whether it was spending on courses, whether it was like making mistakes and learning through my mistakes, but I spent money, and I didn't have money. I was born during the Iran-Iraq War. My parents had no money. I was always entrepreneurial. I made money, but by the time I was 17, I was able to like, we didn't have any furniture in our house, so I bought the first set of furniture for our flat, but where I live with my parents. So by the time I was 17, I was teaching English, and then one of my students, they were quite a well-off family, and they were immigrating to Canada, so they were selling their furniture. So I bought their furniture for our house.
Wow.
17.
Wow.
By the time I was 19, I was making more money than both my parents, to get put together. Because by then I got a job in the European embassies in Tehran, and I was earning dollars while my parents were not, were earning real. So like the first time that my first salary that I got when I was in the embassy, I was like, it felt like so much money. I didn't know what to do with it. So I've always made money, like, and I've always had very, good success with, even though I didn't come from money, I've been very, and then you look at something like Gary Vee, right? Like how many times has he, and I love Gary to bits. I interviewed him for my podcast, but like what I'm trying to say is that when a man has this type of success, it's like so glorified, right? Like Gary keeps talking about the fact that he went door to door and sold, and picked a flower from people's garden and sold it to them. He talks about how, he was like, he had this, the lemonade stand. Yeah, well, you were in America, you had like, and I was in Tehran, like it's not a competition to say, like, who had it worse, right? But still, it's like, like as a woman in Iran, where it's such an oppressive society, I was so entrepreneurial. I was making money since I was 14 years old,
Yeah, that's really impressive. I mean,
and like, I did this thing of like when I was around 17, 18, and at the time, by the way, I was forced to marry my cousin. I got out of that relationship, that thing as well. But it's like when I was around 18, I think it was 17, 18, I was a tour guide for European tourists that came to Tehran, and then at some point we had some Malaysian tourists, and what I did basically at that age, very young, and it's like in being a woman in Iran, like they say that your voice shouldn't be heard by anybody, like you're not supposed to laugh loud, anything like that, like it's so oppressive. What I did, I was so entrepreneurial. I basically had these tourists that came. I had deals with all the like Persian carpets and Persian rugs that are so expensive. So I had deals with all these Persian rug dealers, not drug dealers, rug dealers, right? And basically, I brought these people into their shops. They bought very expensive rugs, and then by the time I was in the car, by the time I was getting home, the money was in my bank, and I got commissions on those. And then I was like, then we had at some point we had like a really big group of Malaysians. I was like, okay, these guys are not going to buy rugs, so how do I make money from this? So what I would do is like they were a big group of women, and they were buying a lot of cheap scarves. But I was like, I'm going to make money from this. So I took these big bus, like big group of Malaysian. They were all like families of like the Malaysian embassy people. So took them to a shop. They bought the shop their scarves. Then I took them to another shop, and then I went back to the first shop and got my commission.
Wow, that's amazing.
Like, is that not impressive? Like, which is more impressive, that or Gary's going house to house? Like, I'm not comparing. Like, I say I love Gary, and I interviewed him for my podcast and everything. It's like, but it's like when a woman does this kind of thing, Like
Yeah.
it needs to be talked about as
It's about
well.
perspective. It's about perspective.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, we are in NFT NYC. Our topic is how women are changing the Nifty world, the NFT world. And let me tell you, you are changing the NFT world. You've already changed the world. And I mean, the NFT is just one aspect of the impact that you are capable of having. So it's
So if I'm there, we can catch up.
yes,
And
Yes, 100%.
that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah, I'm looking at trying to sort out my schedule. I'm losing my voice because I talk so much. I do talk so much constantly. But I'm actually seriously going to see a doctor because it actually hurts here from talking so much. But also, I think when I was in a death metal band, I did a lot of screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I damaged my voice. So something comes back whenever I talk too much,
Right.
and which is all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, ladies, this has been a great conversation. I shared things that I haven't before, so yeah, let's hope that it inspires some people.
It's inspired me already. So
I
I
know
have no
it
doubt that it's going to
definitely
inspire
will and
our
has.
listeners too. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
well, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it and can't wait to follow your journey. Can't wait to see how FemPeak kind of evolves over time. And needless to say, we're all about the allies too. So
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out, and I think I'm not going to do this rebranding quietly. I want to share the truth of why we are doing this, and the fact that women definitely need those allies, and also we have true knowledge to share that we want everybody to benefit from. So this is going to become part of the history of the brand, even as we do this rebranding. But I'm really hoping that more people hear this and think to themselves, like, why am I not investing in myself? Why am I not taking that step to give myself what I deserve? Because like I said, it's not just about the fact that you buy some JPEGs and the price goes up. You also get invited to speak, and they pay you $18,000 to speak.
Good for you. We love that. We love that.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, that is a tough but truthful and honest conversation. She is going to change the world.
Yeah. And I really hope that I like, just speaking with her, I really hope that we can find ways for us to, stay involved with what she's doing. I'm like so impressed with everything that she has going on and her dreams and desires to really change the world.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I absolutely loved her saying over and over was invest in yourself. That is obviously
I loved it.
Our tagline. And there's a reason for that, right? You and I both believe that women need to take control over their own financial lives and over their lives in general. And, she brought up some really great points where it's about time that we really, as females, invest in ourselves because we are worth it.
Yes. And that's not the end of the show.
No.
Because that is how we end the show. But that wasn't the end. No, but it is true. And that is why we have that as our tagline, is we truly believe invest in yourself. And, whether it be in NFTs or whether it be in education and learning and time that it takes to, learn everything about this industry or whatever industry that you fancy, it doesn't have to be NFTs and crypto. It could be something else, but definitely, I mean, I'm a firm believer in always learning. In fact, when I started as the producer for the Bad Crypto podcast, one of the things I said to the guys was, like, I want to learn how to edit the episodes so that in the future, if I want to do my own podcast or whatever, I know how to do everything. And so I've not only learned how to edit audio, but since then I've learned how to edit video as well. And I've learned a lot about websites and, just trying to always be increasing my skills so that I've always got something I can do and a way to earn my own money.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that's a perfect example of applying exactly what she said is, expanding our horizons, consistently learning, always seeking out opportunities to learn and to really better ourselves independently. I'm in an incredible relationship. I'm super, fortunate to have a supportive husband, and I've been with him forever. But even still, I need to have my independence, and I need to invest my own funds, make my own money, invest my own money. It's our money, but I, as a female in a relationship, need to take equal part in the financial decisions. And me investing in NFTs has been a decision that he needed to get on board with, and I expressed to him like why that was important to me, and he's been luckily supportive of it. But not everyone is in that position, and so it's. And I'm truly taken back by her story of how it was really after she had left that relationship that she took control. It's unfortunate but incredible for her. And she'll always take that as a learning opportunity for her entire future. And she'll never go into a relationship again, like she said, with falling into that trap of letting him make all of the decisions. It's powerful.
Right.
Really powerful.
And so many women allow that to happen, or maybe not allow that to happen, but it happens. And then getting your way out of that is really, it's challenging.
Yeah. Like she said, it took her 1.5 years. It was extremely painful. So, wow. I'm like literally getting goosebumps from just, kind of reiterating everything she said, but she is awesome. I'm excited to follow her journey.
Agreed. So that being said, be sure, and as you were saying about learning, hopefully that's why you're here listening to the Nifty Chicks. And we want to make sure that you don't miss out on a single episode. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube, on your favorite podcast player, wherever it is that you are listening to the show, and follow us at the Nifty Chicks. That's the Nifty NIFTY Chicks, CHICKS. You can find us everywhere on the socials.
That's right. And just like Somi said, invest in yourself. You are worth it. Please listen carefully to the following disclaimer. Neither the host nor the guests of the Nifty Chicks podcast are acting in the capacity of financial advisors. We wish to remain transparent and impartial to the NFT community at all times, and therefore, the content provided by the Nifty Chicks hosts and guests are intended for general information purposes only. Nothing written or discussed by the Nifty Chicks hosts and guests should be construed or relied upon as investment, financial, legal, regulatory, accounting, tax, or similar advice. Nothing should be interpreted as a solicitation to invest in any cryptocurrency or NFT, and nothing herein should be construed as a recommendation to engage in any investment strategy or transaction. Please be advised that it is in your own best interest to consult with investment, legal, tax, or similar professionals regarding any specific situation and any prospective transaction decisions. You must do your own research when considering investing in cryptocurrencies or NFTs. We are simply sharing our journey with you as we learn more about the world of NFTs. Happy minting.